Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, my students. Nice to meet you. Today we are going to discuss our first lesson in science, motion in one direction. As we see now, what's meant by motion? Motion is defined as the change of an object's location. طبعا احنا عارفين location معناها position أو موقع as time passes according to the location of another object. طبعا معنى بيبقى انا عندي constant object او object ثابت انا محدده، بشوف طبعا اي change يحصل للlocation of position of any object او any moving object according to or relating to another object. طبعا احنا عندنا السنه دي احنا بنعرف ان في more than one type of motion. The simplest type of motion اللي هو ابسط انواع الحركه يبقى is a motion in a straight line in one direction. Motion in straight line in one direction. طبعا for example motion of metro, motion of a train, the motion of a car. دي كلها طبعا examples للmotion in a straight line in one direction. طبعا في ممكن يكون في motion in curved line، وممكن يبقى عندي الموشن تبقى عباره عن برضه combination of them، يعني combination of straight line and curved line. اللي احنا هنعمله طبعا دراسه السنه دي اللي هو الموشن in one direction in straight line. وانا بقول عليها one direction ليه؟ لانها مقبول قوي، وطبعا هي الموشن برضه اللي بتحصل يا اما is forward or a backward direction. مفيش مشكله خالص، ده برضه بنعتبره او is considered in one direction لان in one plane يعني معناها على مستوى واحد او بيتحرك في one direction او اتجاه واحد. طبعا to study the motion of any object او to express the motion of any object we will go or are going to study the speed of any moving object. What's meant by speed؟ طبعا مش هينفع ان احنا لو احنا بنتكلم عن الموشن او بنتكلم عن اي موفينج اوبجكت نقول بقى طبعا نفضل كده نتكلم ان الاوبجكت ده is faster than another object is slower than another object. لا، فكان لازم يبقى في عندي way to express the motion اللي هي طبعا speed. What's meant by speed? It is the physical quantity which is used to describe and measure the movement of objects. يعني انا دلوقتي لو عايز to study, describe, measure movement of any object، طبعا لاحسن حاجه عندي لها طبعا بعبر عنها بالterm of speed. عشان نشرح ونبقى ناخد الاكزامبل بتاعنا اكتر زي ما احنا شايفين كده. If I have two cars move on the same road where one car takes a time t1 seconds and the other car takes a time t2 seconds. يعني عندي اثنين عربيتين two cars الاثنين moving، واحد فيهم التايم انا هسميه t1 seconds t1 و t2. طبعا ال two cars عندي covering the same distance، ولاحظ ان t1 is less than t2. يعني تخيل كده انت رحت نفس الجيرني او نفس التريب مره مع بابا مثلا في العربيه ومره مع اخويا، رحت من هنا لاسكندريه تقريبا نقول مثلا ايه في 2 hours and half، وبعدين رجعنا رحنا تاني نفس المشوار في تقريبا 3 hours. طبعا هنقول ان الفيرست تريب هي اللي ممكن تكون الكار فيها كانت فاستر. يبقى لما يكون عندي t1 less than t2 والكفر ديستانس هي برضه the same distance، ده معناه ان the first car will be the faster car او the fastest car. طب example number 2. If the two cars move on a road where a red car covers a distance d1 meters and a yellow car covers a longer distance at the same time، يعني عندي two cars والاثنين in the same time interval او time او period of time، ولكن لقيت ان في واحده فيهم covered a distance more than the other. طبعا اللي covered a distance more than the other in the same time طبعا هي دي اللي هقول عليها انها الفاستر كار. From the previous we conclude نقدر طبعا ان احنا نستنتج definition للسبيد بتاعتنا اللي احنا اتكلمنا عنها انها ايه؟ It is the distance moved through a unit time. طبعا احنا عارفين ان انا لو رايح اي تريب وبراقب طبعا السبيدوميتر بتاع الكار، ببدا اقول ان والله ده انا السبيد بتاعتي دلوقتي او السرعه اللي انا ماشي عليها بتحرك عليها فور اكزامبل 80 كيلومتر بر اور. 80 كيلومتر بر اور. يبقى انا عندي قلت حاجتين دلوقتي، اولا ديستانس كيلومتر بر اور، الاور اللي هي طبعا السبنت تايم او التايم اللي انا استغرقته فيه to cover this distance. So V equal distance over time. Distance over time يعني distance divided by time. Of course انا عندي طبعا الديستانس بتبقى الميجر يونت بتاعتها ممكن تكون بالمترز او بالكيلومترز. What time second or hour. يبقى اليونت السبيد او اليونتس used to measure the speed هتبقى طبعا ممكن انا measure speed by meter per second or kilometer per hour. meter per second or kilometer per hour. وبرضه بقدر ان انا اخد اكتر من ريليشن، الماثيماتيكال ريليشن اللي قدامي اللي هي في ايكوال دي اوفر تي، طبعا ممكن احولها الى ان الدي ايكوال في تايمز دي، او اقول ان التي كمان ايكوال دي ديفايدد باي في. يعني لما يكون عندي ديستانس او عايز اعمل او to calculate the distance v times t, to calculate the time equal d divided by v. d refers to distance and v refers to speed. Remember, to change from kilometer per hour to meter per second, if I want to change or convert speed from kilometer per hour unit to meter per second unit, it will be v times 1000 times 1000 to convert from kilometer to meter. To convert from hour to second, we should divide by 60 times 60. Number two, to change the speed of the car from meter per second to kilometer per hour, v times 60 times 60 over or divided by 1000. Example, a runner runs with a speed 8 meters per second. A runner runs with a speed 8 meters per second. Find the distance covered by the runner in 10 seconds. Here we have speed equal 8 meters per second, t or time equal 10 seconds. So distance will equal v times t. Concentrate with me. Distance equals v times t. 8 times 10, of course, equal 80 meters. So distance will equal 80 meters. To change from meter per second to kilometer per hour, 80 meters times or 20 meter per second times 60 times 60 over 1000 equal 72 kilometer per hour. Kinds or types of speed. We can move by different types or different kinds of speed, such as regular speed, number one, irregular speed, number two, the third type, relative speed. We talk about speedometer, we find it in cars. It helps us in identifying the speed of car directly. First type, regular speed. Regular speed means that an object changes its position by equal distances at equal periods of time. Regular speed equal delta d divided by delta t. This triangle means delta. Delta is a Latin symbol. Latin symbol that means delta means amount of change. An amount of change. Here we mean the change in distance divided by the change in time. What's meant by an object moves at a regular speed 50 km per hour. This means that the object moves in a straight line where it covers 50 kilometers at a time span or a time period or period of time equal 1 hour. It means each 1 hour he covered a 50-kilometer distance. Each 1 hour he covers a 50-kilometer distance. Example number 2. Calculate the time needed for a train moves at a regular speed 100 km per hour to cover a distance of 250 km. First we say V equal delta D over delta T. So delta T, or the change in time, equal delta D over or divided by V. Delta D is the distance, equal 250 divided by 100 equals 2.5 hours. 2.5 hours. Second type, irregular speed. It is the opposite definition of regular speed. It is the change of object position by unequal distances at equal periods of time. It is the change of object's position by unequal distances at equal periods of time. Or it is the change of object position by equal distance at unequal periods of time. If the two are equal, it will be regular speed. Equal distances at equal periods of time, it is regular speed. One of them must be unequal. Unequal distance at equal time period, or equal distance at unequal periods of time. So it is difficult to determine the amount of irregular speed of an object. So we use the average speed. It is the third type of speed, average speed. What's meant by average speed? It is the total distance covered by the moving object divided by the total time taken to cover the distance. Another time and concentrate. It is the total distance covered by the moving object divided by the total time taken to cover this distance. Average speed equal total distance covered over total time. Total distance over total time. This means the average speed represents the regular speed which the moving object moves. Regular speed which the moving object moves to cover the same distance at the same time interval or the same period of time. When V equal average speed, or when the speed are equal with the average speed, this motion described as a regular speed. It means that you are covering the same distance or the same distance by meter or by kilometer at the same periods of time. So you are described moving at a regular speed. When V, or the speed, doesn't equal the average speed, it will be irregular motion. Irregular motion. Example, if a racer covered a distance of 100 meters of a straight track in 10 seconds. Concentrate here, it is the first trip, 100 meters of a straight track in 10 seconds. Then he returned back. He returned back walking in 80 seconds to come back to the straight point of running. Calculate racer average speed while A, running, while B, returning, while C, whole trip. Solution, the racer's average speed while running, V average equal D over time, 100 divided by 10 equal 10 meters per second. The racer's average speed while returning, distance, the same distance, 100 meters, divided by 80 seconds, equal 1.25 meters per second. the racer's average speed during whole trip, total distance equal 100 meter times 2, 100 meter plus 100 meter equals 200 meter divided by 90 seconds. It is the total time spent. 10 plus 80 second means 200 divided by 90 equals 2.3 meter per second. Question here, what's meant by average speed of a moving car equal 40 kilometer per hour? It's a common question. Common question. What's meant by average speed of a moving car equal 40 kilometer per hour? This means that the result of dividing the total distance covered by the car by total time taken to cover this distance equal 40. Another time, this means that the result of dividing total distance covered by the car by total time taken to cover this distance equal 40. Relative speed, the third type of speed, it is the speed of a moving object relative to the observer. So we have here a moving object and an observer. It is the speed of a moving object relative to the observer. If a person is standing on side of the road, we will call it an observer. To observe two cars, if the first car moves at 80 km per hour speed and the second car moves at 100 km per hour speed, the speed of the first طبعا slow car relative to the observer is 80 km, while the speed of the second car, the speed of the second or the fast car relative to the observer equal 100 km. Note that the speed of the second fast car relative to passenger in the first slow car equal 100 minus 80 equal 20 km per hour, because these two cars are moving in the same direction. Note here, the two cars are moving in the same direction. So relative speed equal the speed of the first car 100 minus the speed of the second slow car 80. 100 minus 80 equal 20 km per hour. When we measure the relative speed, it depends on the position of the observer, first. Second factor, the speed of the observer and the direction of moving of the observer. يبقى measuring of the relative speed depends on the state of the observer. State from being moving, or the direction of the observer direction in the same direction or the opposite direction. Example number 4 على position of observer طبعا. Two cars move in the same direction. Two cars is VA, the speed of the first car equal 30 km per hour, and VB, speed of the second car equal 80 km per hour. We have a third car VC, its speed equal 40 km per hour. But C is the third car, it is moving in the opposite direction of the two cars. Calculate the speed of B. It means the speed of the second car relative to. When we see the term relative to, here we will measure the relative speed. Relative speed according to first one, or A, stand on the ground. B, an observer in car A, C, an observer in car C. Let's discuss solution. Relative speed for car VB, or the second car, relative to an observer standing on the ground. It is the same speed of the car, equal 80 km/h, and doesn't change. But the relative speed of car B relative to an observer in car A, which is moving in the same direction, equal 80 minus 30, equal 50 km/h. 3. The relative speed of car B relative to an observer in car C equal 80 plus 40 equal 120 km/h, because it is moving in the opposite direction. This is very important. The direction of the observer. In the same direction, the speed minus the speed of the observer. If the observer moves in the opposite direction, relative speed equals the speed of the moving object minus plus the speed of the observer. I want to discuss with you an enrichment information. How can we calculate the time that the light takes from the sun to reach the earth? Time equal, who can do this? V equal D over T. So time equal D over V. The distance between Earth and the Sun equals 149.6 million kilometers. It is the distance between Earth and the Sun. Of course, all of us know the speed of light. Speed of light is a constant value equal 300,000 kilometers per second. So time equal distance over speed, or D divided by speed. 149.6 times 1 million to convert into meter over 300,000 equal 498.7 seconds. It means 8.3 minutes. 8.3 minutes. So if the sunset of the sun is at 5 o'clock, this means that the light traveled from the sun to Earth at 8.3 minutes. Any questions? We will follow any questions at Edmodo. Thanks for watching, and until we will meet again, good morning. Assalamu alaikum.